Hi everyone, I'm Johnna Devereaux, here to talk to you today about pet first aid. Thank you for joining us. At Bow Wow Labs, we are all about safety and wellness. And so today I want to help you build a pet first aid kit. So it's going to be a basic kit that's going to cover basic needs like cuts and scrapes. If you find a tick on your dog, or if they get bit by a bee, or stung by a bee, bit by a spider, small things that you can do at home, essentially, right? We're not talking about major issues that you need to take your dog to a vet, but these are going to be some easy first aid kit essentials. So to get started, we're going to need a few things. First and foremost, we're going to need a container to keep all of these things in one place. I personally love having a toolbox. I love that I can put everything inside, that it has a nice little handle, and I can just kind of put it in a closet and hope I never need it. I also like to decorate it because it's super cute, and that way I can identify that it's for the dogs and not tools or anything else. So when we're thinking about basic first aid care, we're thinking cuts and scrapes first and foremost. So anything that is under a 1/4 inch deep is something that you can relatively easily tend to at home. If it's deeper than a 1/4 inch, you really want to call your veterinarian. These days, most veterinarians have a designated line that you can take a photo and send to them. So try to do that, because if it needs stitches, you don't really want to go through this. You just want to protect the wound site and then bring your dog where they can be tended to by a medical professional. But to get started, we're going to want some sanitary gloves, right? Vinyl gloves. If your dog does have a cut or scrape, you want to make certain that you don't introduce any additional bacteria to the area, so have some vinyl gloves nearby. You also want to have a wound wash. If there is any type of debris, sand, dirt, anything like that in the cut, you actually would want to wash that away first with a saline wound wash, and then you would take care of disinfecting it, which you can use either cotton balls or cotton swabs if it's a smaller cut. You dip those into a diluted chlorhexidine solution. The reason that we choose chlorhexidine over a rubbing alcohol or a hydrogen peroxide is because it's actually shown that hydrogen peroxide and alcohol delay tissue healing, which is obviously not what we're going for when we're trying to deliver first aid. So go with chlorhexidine. We also want to include an eye wash. If your dog ever gets something in their eyes, we want to make certain that we can flush it out, and using a designated eye wash that has a little squirt bottle is going to be the easiest way to get anything out of your dog's eyes. We also want to have gauze pads. So after you've gone through and cleaned out the wound and disinfected the wound, you want to have obviously bacitracin or an antibiotic ointment to put on top. Then we need to cover it. So we're going to use some gauze, and then we need to have a bandage. Self-adhesive bandage is the best way to go. It does not stick to fur, but it sticks to itself. So it will actually stay nice and neat on your animal. Another great thing about gauze and the self-adhesive bandage is if it is a wound that is deeper than a 1/4 inch, or is a gash or something that is scary and needs medical attention right away, you can use these to protect the area. So put the gauze on and then wrap it and get your dog as quick as possible to where they can be tended to. So beyond those things, we're going to be looking at getting some round edge scissors. These are great for cutting the bandages. It's also really great for cutting fur away if needed. I just want to warn you, even though they are round tipped, be very careful not to cut your dog's skin if you're cutting their fur, because then you create a new situation. But these are handy to have inside. It's also handy to have some slant edge tweezers. These are going to be great for removing a thorn or a splinter. What we don't want to use tweezers for is we don't want to use these if your dog has been bitten, or I should say stung by a bee. Bees leave their stinger and they are very fragile. So oftentimes the tweezers will actually break the stinger and leave the barb in the skin, which is going to exacerbate any potential reaction. You also want to have some antihistamine. This is something that if your dog does get stung by a bee, call your veterinarian immediately and tell them the size of your dog, what happened, and let them tell you how much to give your dog and how frequently. Please do not just randomly start giving your dogs antihistamine. Only do it under the guidance of a medical professional. And the last thing you don't want to do with tweezers is please don't pull ticks out. People try to go towards tweezers when they want to pull ticks out, but oftentimes it disembodies the tick but leaves the head embedded in the skin, which means all that bacteria is there, and then we're going back in to try to get the head out, and we're creating a bigger problem than needed. So I love these tick tools. This one, you would just slide underneath the tick, you twist, and the entire tick comes out, body, head, everything. At that point, if you're not sure what type of tick it is and you're concerned about a tick-borne disease, you can take the tick, put it in a container, and then take it to get tested. So this is a great thing to have. You also want to have a rectal thermometer, and you want to have Vaseline. That will make it easier for the thermometer to get into the anus. So that's what we want to do to keep it comfortable and calm. Will keep your animal calm, right, when you're doing that. Three other things you want to think about is a muzzle. Now, I know a lot of people have a negative connotation about muzzles, but in the terms of safety, this is really important. If you think about it, if your dog is in a lot of pain, their normal temperament of being happy-go-lucky and loving is kind of gone out the window because they're in pain and they're suffering. So we're going to use a muzzle to actually protect your dog and protect other people. You know, a dog is, when they're in pain, their instincts kind of kick in, instincts to protect themselves. And God forbid if they lash out and bite a human that's trying to help them, it just kind of creates a situation that really isn't necessary. So have a muzzle in your first aid kit. I hope you never need it, but if you do, it's there and you can feel good that you've taken care to protect your dog. The last two things that I love to have is going to be a flashlight, because I love flashlights, and a magnifying glass. Let's say that your dog has something embedded in their paw. It's really hard to see the underside of a paw, so having a flashlight and a magnifying glass is going to really help you identify what is going on. You know, at the end of the day, when it comes to a first aid kit, you need to stay calm. You need to assess the situation. Your dog is feeling your energy. So if you're not calm, they're not going to be calm. So if you know you have everything in a centrally located place, it's going to be easier for you to quickly assess what's going on, identify what you need to do. One last bonus tip. I also really love to have 2 phone numbers on a piece of paper in my first aid kit. One is to the pet poison helpline. God forbid my dogs were to digest something that I don't know if it's okay for them or not, like a plant or something like to that effect. And secondly, number for your local emergency veterinary clinic. Those 2 things, if we are really kind of feeling some stress, as calm as we may be trying to be, it's easier to just have everything in one place. So that's it. I hope you all go out and get a kit or the essentials of the kit and put it together, decorate it up cute. Thank you for joining us, and stay safe.